So welcome to our third and final STEM Connector event of the semester. I'm Alyssa, the communications specialist at DeepSense, and we're also joined by Marin, Surge's STEM Connector intern, and Mehak, our STEM Connector intern at DeepSense. And like I mentioned, the panel is going to be recorded and available on the DeepSense YouTube channel. But before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge that we're all coming together virtually, but DeepSense is located in Mi'kmaq, the traditional and territory of the Mi'kmaq people. We'd like to recognize the Indigenous peoples of all the lands that we're on today, and we want to ask that everyone takes a moment to consider the territory in which they're situated and their own personal responsibility in the processes of reconciliation. And today's panel is going to focus on entrepreneurship and our panelists' journeys through entrepreneurship. We'll talk to our panelists about the multifaceted world of entrepreneurship, uncovering the challenges, triumphs, and invaluable lessons learned along the way. We'll introduce our panelists shortly, but before we begin, I'll briefly go through the structure of the panel today. We'll start with some introductions about DeepSense, Surge, ShiftKey, and of course STEM Connector, and of course our panelists. And then I'll ask our panelists some questions to guide our discussion. But this panel is about what you want to hear about entrepreneurship. So feel free to pop in at any time and ask questions either by raising your hand or you can drop a question in the chat. Because the panel is short, we won't be having a designated question period at the end. So don't be afraid to jump in and ask those questions that you have. So I'd like to start by introducing DeepSense. We're a project based out of Dalhousie, where we work with companies in the ocean sector who are interested in harnessing the potential of their data. We connect these companies with students from universities and colleges across Atlantic Canada to help execute the project that the company is looking to complete. These projects can either take the form of a master's research project, a co-op, or an internship. And if you've ever wanted to grow your skills and work on real projects and gain industry experience, then submit your resume to our student pool. And Emily, if you'd like to introduce ShiftKey. Oh, you're muted.
Thanks. My name's Emily. I'm the manager of ShiftKey Labs. ShiftKey is a innovation entrepreneurship sandbox, which is part of a Nova Scotia wide project. We're focused on computer science and technology, particularly when it comes to skills development, career development, and startup support. You can find our website and learn some more if you like. I'll pop it in the chat.
Awesome. Thank you, Emily. And Marin, if you want to go ahead and introduce Surge.
I'm Marin, and Surge Innovation is also one of the sandbox projects at Dalhousie, and it focuses on training STEM students in design thinking and innovation to devise creative science and technology-based solutions for modern-day problems. So we do so by offering a range of workshops, multi-week programs, and classes that provide experiential training in a variety of skills desired by startups and other employers, as well as graduate and professional programs.
Awesome. Thank you. And then Mehak has a couple of slides to share with us about STEM Connector.
All right, so I'll start by telling what STEM Connector is. So it's a flash mentorship program that connects post-secondary STEM students with industry professionals, researchers, and other students for professional development. So what is flash mentorship? Flash mentorship is a modern mentoring focused on time efficiency and convenience of knowledge, sharing with multiple mentors and mentees with no long-term commitments. It is beneficial for adult learners as they can set their own goals and challenges and challenge perspectives. So what can you expect from STEM Connectors? So STEM Connector program we offer in every term. In one term, we start with the email newsletter. Then we provide the onboarding document, which is through our Trova Slack channel. Then we also provide the initial mentoring match through Trova. Then bi-weekly magic intros, in-person social event, and we end the semester with our end of the term email newsletter. So for the Trova, you create a profile, you can join our Slack channel. I'll drop the link in the chat. And then afterwards, you can go to the Trova app in the Slack channel, and you can register over there. You can set up your profile, and you can select whether you want to be a mentor, a mentee, or a both. You can also you can set up what you are good at, what you want to learn, and also a bit about your work history. This can help you match with the right mentor who can guide you on your journey. You also get an initial mentor match, and you can also search people based on their interests, skills, and locations. Yeah, and here's what it looks like.
Awesome. Thank you, Mahek. And then we'll hand it over to Maren to introduce our panelists that are joining us today.
All right. So our first panelist is Samira Kodadust, who is a seasoned multidisciplinary professional with over 10 years of experience in the dynamic and diverse field of resource management across various sectors, including marine and inland ecosystems. With a strong passion for ocean and wildlife conservation, she's also an advocate for safety in both work and leisure activities. Samira has played a pivotal role in assisting private entities and government agencies on multiple projects to achieve their objectives. In her current role as CEO and founder of Safe Harbor Research and Technologies, she is committed to creating safer passages for those traveling within busy waterways and reducing the impact on our marine environment for current and future generations. We also have Talis Apud Martinez, serves as the Amira Idea Hub's Associate Director at Dalhousie University. With over 20 years of experience leading social enterprises, she's the co-founder of Latiendo por Mexico, a youth activation movement in Mexico, Feel Good, a food entrepreneurship program in the US, and the tech nonprofit Crew for All. So Talis holds a Bachelor of Arts in Sociology from the University of Texas at Austin and a Master's in Innovation and Entrepreneurship from the Monterrey Institute of Technology in Mexico. And last but not least, we have Vansh, who is a third-year Bachelor of Computer Science student at Dalhousie, where he contributes as a teaching assistant and serves as the tech coordinator for Shipkey Labs and the Faculty of Health. Recognized as a LinkedIn top web applications voice, Vansh has a prolific background in software development with over 6 years of freelancing experience. He has worked with more than 25 startups and small businesses, playing a pivotal role in helping them secure over $100,000 in funding. And as the founder of a web and mobile development agency, he is dedicated to empowering students to embrace freelancing through gig power. Vansh holds an AWS certified cloud practitioner credential and is a Google Code-In Grand Prize winner, ranking among the global top 50.
Awesome. Thank you, Maren. We're so privileged to be joined by such a qualified and diverse panel today. So to kick off the panel, I'll kind of start with some questions, and then as we get questions from the audience, we can add those in too. So to start, I would like to ask, how do you stay motivated and maintain a growth mindset in the face of challenges and setbacks? Not from personal experience, but from seeing some startups, I can see there's a lot of barriers and obstacles that people have faced, and sometimes that can be challenging. So I'd love to hear from our panelists how you do stay motivated and continue to kind of stay on that positive and growth mindset. Does anyone want to start us off?
Let's see. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, all good.
Oh my God, sorry. Just allow me. How about now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Sorry about that. A little bit of technical issues. Well, to answer your question, as a startup, I always, there's a lot of challenges come through, and in order for me to stay resilient and also be able to go through this path, I set a clear goals for myself. basically defining specific achievable goals that align with my long-term vision. So I can break through the smaller milestone to track progress and maintain basically focus. The other thing that I normally work on is focus on learning and improvement. And that is something that it's extremely important for the startup. So viewing challenges and setbacks and opportunity for learning and growth. That will embrace my mindset that every obstacle is a chance to develop a new skills, gain valuable experience and improve yourself. The other thing that I work on normally, is part of me all the time, is a practice self-compassion. That means be kind to yourself during the difficult times, acknowledge your efforts and progress. And even if the outcome is not what you're looking and you're expecting, treat yourself with some compassion and understanding that you would offer to a friend similar situation and challenges. And don't just get bugged up with things that, it might happen coming on your side and it doesn't work with your basic vision. Because all the time you're trying to kind of help yourself. So you have to be open to that and treat yourself well. And the other thing is, like, I always also put into seeking a support and feedback. So surrounding yourself with a very supported network of friends, families, mentors, peers, and that they can offer you encouragement and advice and they provide you positive feedback. Also a constructive feedback, because a constructive feedback doesn't mean it's bad. Constructive feedback means that your mind needs to hear it, because you might not knowing that is not the right path you're going, or that is not the right thing to do. But with a constructive feedback, you can actually rewire your brain and thinking differently. And maybe that will put you in the right path. And the other thing is important is stay resilient, and cultivating the resilience by developing, a coping strategy to manage your stress and, kind of bounce back yourself from the setbacks. That may include participating in like mindfulness, a healthy work balance environment, engaging yourself with anything that you like to recharge your enthusiasm. And don't get deceived again. Don't back up with something that you think that you cannot do, because the thing that you cannot do, you cannot believe if you actually practicing mindfulness, you will be able to do that in a healthy environment. And the last thing I can mention in here, celebrate your progress. Celebrate progress means even the small wins along the way that help you with your goals. And when you're achieving that small little goals, you wanted to celebrate it. So that gives you positive impact in yourself, and recognizing and appreciating that achievement will help you to pass a bigger challenge. And I believe personally, a positive reinforcement can boost your morale and motivation to keep things moving. And be open to adapt and to the things that can happen in a startup and in entrepreneurial basic journey. Nothing stays, on a one pathway. It goes in various pathways. So you have to stay flexible and adaptive to that challenges that comes around you. And that's it. That's what I can say. I hope that answered questions.
Yes, absolutely. Do any of our other panelists have anything to add on to that? I know I've got a couple thoughts, but I would love to hear from Vansh or Talis.
Go ahead, Vansh.
I would say that was very well put, and it actually covered most of the things. One thing I would like to add, like from my personal, like how I personally, keep on track on my goals is with discipline, and that sometimes there will be setbacks, and it's just that we have to, as like you mentioned, that we have to keep that end goal in mind and keep working towards it while improving ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's beautiful, both of you. I would just add that for me, just staying connected to your mission, to our mission, that deep why that led you to start your company and for which you wake up for every day, it's just important to keep that present as you move through the ups and downs of life and your enterprise.
Thank you. That really got me thinking what you were speaking about celebrating your successes and the self-compassion aspect. People often say that you're your own greatest critic. So thinking about successes, I would like to ask if you could all share an example of a successful collaboration or partnership that has helped your business grow and kind of led to more success in your businesses.
I could start if you'd like. Yeah, so for the last company that I worked on for a little over 10 years, it's a tech platform that back when we started it in like 2009 was our first pilot. There were very few like community and LMS platforms out there. So we built one that was internal to a program we were running. And from the start, we realized that we didn't have quite the funds at that time to run it internally. So we spun it out as its own nonprofit organization. And right from the start, we had recruited 5 other youth movements who had very, very similar styles of running programs to get onboarded onto an iteration that we would build. So from the start of our tech company, which we did incorporate as a nonprofit, we had, as part of our business model, an idea that all of the organizations coming in to use the platform would either contribute on a sliding scale on a pay what you can basis. Some programs were really little, some programs were much larger, and the much larger programs would contribute to specific feature requests that they needed for their programs. But the truth is that most other organizations could use. So we created a culture of generosity and partnership to building new features where those who can contribute and have features built for them, but everybody on the platform gets them. So even if somebody came in and contributed $80,000 for a big feature push for them, that year they would have gotten $400,000 worth of new features paid by others. So it was a cool give and take, and it was fun to see how when people in our community were invited to share in generosity when they could, everybody was always honest. They gave when they could and they didn't when they couldn't. So that just really, yeah, made it for our business model like a really creative one that was very shared across movements.
One example for me was one of the startups that I worked on as a co-founder was like a small music company that we were just promoting local artists back home when I was in high school, because we were in a certain pop culture, like very interested in that. So we were promoting local artists who didn't get recognition using tech and marketing, and we started a podcast for it. And one collaboration that really helped out was that we reached out to a person who was an outreach member for the main producer, and that way we were able to bring on board many producers, not just artists. And because of that, our reach for the podcast like just grew across the state. So it's a very small example, but for us it was a very big difference.
Wow, these are wonderful, basically collaboration experiences. Great to hear that. I guess mine is since we're very also in early stages, and we're so kind of going through, creating these collaboration with other industry partners and other basically stakeholders and all that. And going through that journey has been extremely interesting and important to us, and learning how those collaboration can be created. In our example, for example, we can actually mention here that we have been very happy and extremely, it was very beneficial to us, like, for example, to getting a workforce through a partnership with Deep Sense, that we didn't have that opportunity to get it from anywhere else because we were looking for specific skill. We were looking for somebody to help to bring that person in the workforce and help our company to grow. And creating that collaboration between, the company like DeepSense was able to create basically this system that we were looking for through that very skilled individual, so that we can actually go forward and be able to put ourselves out there for our stakeholder. And that is a big improvement, big basically. For our startup is just small, it's big, and that without their collaboration, without participating, working with them, the team in DeepSense, we probably would have not been able to have that skilled individual working for our company and creating that environment that push our company forward. So that's pretty much I believe that's a great collaboration, and I'm very thankful for this basically collaboration.
All those stories are so heartwarming. I love seeing people come together to work towards like such a great common end goal, and especially Talis, a story that you shared about kind of the generosity model where everyone's sharing what they can and it's honest about everything. So Emily had a question that kind of stems off of that. So were there any kinds of resources that you used during your startup or entrepreneurship journey that kind of helped the most or like tipped the scale for you?
I would like to give an example of like not just an example. So for the agency that I like run, so we were initially using just communications when like we were hiring any developers or marketing people. We would just use communications over WhatsApp or just create groups over it, right? The best tool that I feel helped us was Notion, that it organized our whole agency into one platform. That way we were able to delegate tasks very easily, and that way we were actually able to hire more people on board. And along with Notion, there was a very easy collaboration with Loom, which is just you record a simple video of some mundane tasks so that you don't have to explain it to every new hire. And that way, that short video would help them get onboarded onto our Notion platform, and it was very simple for them to get adapted as well. This way, we were able to delegate, we were able to organize all different projects going on, and we were able to match deadlines much better than before, and instead of just using WhatsApp.
Yeah, Notion is a great one. We use it at DeepSense as well, and I have started using it personally to keep track of my own projects. Like it is life-changing. Oh, I think we lost your audio, Talis. I don't know if it's working for anyone else, but
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we're good.
Oh, okay, sorry about that. I was just saying that ditto to a good project management tool, and that the best one is the one that your team wants to use. There's so many, but yeah, Notion's great. I'll just add one. I think there's a lot of ways to get free AWS credits for building your servers on and for hosting. I somehow was able to get by like 4 years without paying a penny on AWS, and now I can't find any more. So we're finally paying, but look for some AWS grants. There's some out there.
Don't have a specific thing to mention about this. I guess the Talis and also mentioned about AWS. We basically still working on that perspective, and we are one of the things that I'm currently trying to work with is actually what is called the time cloud. So that I'm hoping that that I get it. It's already available out there, and I'm just trying to see how I can bring that into my team and be more sort of bring everything in one area so that I don't have to constantly looking to see what project was or what time this project created, or when is the deadline, or for example, did my teammate like clock in and clock out for payroll stuff, right? Like this is kind of for me like still working on it, but I think it's something I can suggest to look into, to using this available software if you don't want to create it, to have the software that is very simple, not too complicated, and to be able to get things done. I cannot work with the softwares that are so complicated, asking for so many things. I just need a clean state, just a few things that I need to work on, and so that my mind is clear. And I would suggest that to everybody, to look for something very clean state software, or any app that they wanted to work
on. Awesome. And we've got another question in the chat from Espen. What are some key skills that you found have helped you the most throughout your entrepreneurship journey?
I'm happy to share. Actually, let me grab a book real quick. I feel like, can you hear me okay? I feel like, well, there's so many skills, right? That, and it's depending on your discipline, depending on the kind of work that you're trying to do. But I would say that as an entrepreneur, or really any journey you pick in life, like so much of our identity is tied to our work, sometimes in healthy ways, sometimes in unhealthy ways. But I think what that presents is a helpful opportunity to work on who we are as humans and how we relate to one another. I think that's a very broad thing to say, but there's a book that I really like by one of my mentors called Difficult Conversations. And it's, oh, my video is failing here. Let me unblur it. Difficult Conversations. It's just a book that helps us look at how essentially the different wounds in our life show up in the ways we relate to one another. And running a business, being in a team, I'm sure we've all had moments where you feel like your heart rate's racing, or you feel like something's triggered in you. And I think those reactions we have are totally normal and part of life, but they just sometimes get in the way of us seeing what's happening clearly, and working on looking inside when we are triggered by the things that are stressful in life and relationships and work are an opportunity to address them, to help heal them and move through life, right? Therapy, there's so many ways one can go about addressing essentially being able to see clearly what's in front of us. And to do that, we need to be in healthy relationship with who we are and ourselves and what's hurting inside of us. So that's what I have found most helpful as an entrepreneur.
Well said. I was just going to add a few little things there. I think in my experience, being adaptive and flexible. I think it's the most important skills that I'm still working on it. It never gets old. Embarrassing and remain adaptive in the face of uncertainty. It will help you to quickly pass those unnecessary things that is on your way, and explore new opportunities. And I know this is hard sometimes, because I have faced it, and I'm sure tons of entrepreneurs have faced it, but just be open-minded and adaptive and flexible, it will go a long way. Another thing is, I found it to myself, continuous learning. That is so important. I am a person that I love to just constantly learning about different things. But I look to see what it is at this time I can, work to grow of myself personally, and of growth for my company at the same time. Looking the trends, what technology out there just for fun. I don't have a engineering background, but sometimes I get interested. to learn what it is needs to be done, what is that path, and then just get my mind going and understanding what it is that I am missing. And that's not bad, but you don't have to stay for like a whole day to do it. You can just, take maybe a day and a couple of hours here and there to just get your mind moving, and you get yourself that blood pumping to your brain that, oh, I learned something new when I'm talking, to my engineer. At least I understand it. I don't have to know every single thing, but I think I can understand it. And that's just me. It could be different for everybody at different stage, or when you're trying to do you're going into entrepreneurship pathway. And the last thing, self-care. I found that this is a challenging one, but if I find a time, every time I think that I'm so stressed out, I'm like, I need to walk away and I need to kind of breathe. And then I'm just gonna say, okay, you know what? I maybe want to just go have an ice cream, right? And that makes me feel good, right? I just mentioned ice cream is just because it's something that, a lot of people like the ice cream, but it could be something different. It could be something you just wanted to walk away, just breathe and just exercise, or whatever you need to do to take care of yourself so that you're not crushed through that entrepreneurship journey. And yeah, that's hopefully that gives some ideas.
Yep, these are some really amazing points. I totally agree. These have been part of, like, I'm still learning as well, and like to the point of continuous learning as well. Like, I even till date I pick up a new book to learn something completely different, right? Like, I was reading the history of Nova Scotians the other day. Like, it was completely different than the field I'm in, and it's just learning. Just one point I would like to add is time organization. Even I'm still working on that, but like, I have been trying to map everything in a calendar like for some time, and I try to follow that calendar as much as I can. Every day, every morning I wake up, I jot down what all I need to do for the day, and I map it in my calendar that this task will take 2 hours. It doesn't have to be perfect, right? Like, and especially as a student, like, I have assignments going on and I have other work going on as well. So I would give like 1.5 or 2 hours to assignments. Then my classes are already there. Then I have work for a certain job or for my company. So I would map it down in time blocks. And plus, to the point of self-care, I would give some leverage to myself as well in the time blocks. But yep, that's all.
Yeah, it sounds like self-care and kind of like the self-compassion and the like identity being tied to work is a huge component of entrepreneurship. So I'm curious about what strategies that you employ to prioritize both professional and personal aspects of your life, because it sounds like that's something that's important to all of you. And I know as entrepreneurs and like as students, you wear so many hats. So just I'm curious to hear what strategies you use to kind of balance all those aspects.
Like, okay, I'll start with this one. So especially as a student, as I mentioned, I map everything down in a calendar, and I have like multiple tasks list across my devices that I keep track of. I feel it's mostly about prioritizing what I want to do and having my priorities straight, right? And that what I need to do in this day has to get done. That's just how I feel. And if it's fine if I don't get it done, it's just that I try to get the most out of the day. And it's uh mostly about time management and having my priorities straight. So that's how I follow. And one book I would highly recommend to everyone, especially for this thing too. This is my favorite book. It's Atomic Habits. I think it's very common these days, but it's my favorite book. That's where I learned how to get discipline as well, and like all the things that they have mentioned in there are amazing. Just one book that I would recommend. It's Atomic Habits. I'll send a link.
I've heard of it before. I haven't read it yet, but I think this conversation is going to be the push that I needed to finally read it.
think answer to that question. I guess for me, it's I always set clear goals in my mind and in paper. I should say not in my mind. In my mind, it is, but also writing on a paper. And sometimes I just put a little sticky notes, bunch of areas of my home, and which kind of drives my husband crazy, but sometimes it's good. And just that so I can see it, because every time I see that goal, clear goal, then I'm motivated. And that is something professionally, I do it for myself. So I try to also visualize the success. Visualizing yourself and overcoming with obstacles and achieving your goal. That would bring a positive outcome in your desire in your mind, which can bolster your confidence and motivation during the difficult times that you might have. And that has happened probably many times to me. And I keep visualizing that success to be able to keep me going on the professional side. And also staying inspired, I can say. So I try to surround myself with, a source of inspiration that can fuel my passion and motivation. Learning about stories that listening to motivational probably podcasts sometimes. I'm not a podcaster, but sometimes I do listen to the, what motivational podcast. Mostly I attended industry seminars like today, for example, just to keep that inspiration going, right? Because when you hear things and you learn as you go, and that inspires you towards the goal that you wanted to achieve, and that is important. And personal life, one of the things that I always just try to, whoever I see or whatever I know that they're talking to me or, bringing the concern and I'm so stressed out and all that, it gives a stress to me. So right away I said, you know what, you need to keep this personal life away from your business life. It happened to me so many times, especially in the environment that, for example, my husband is involved with the business too, but we do, for example, as a couple, we have a personal life. When we want to discuss something, we put it on a calendar like anybody else's. We say, okay, you know what? At this time, at this hour, we're going to sit down and talk about this. We're not just going to talk about it all day long and throughout it, because we wanted to have a quality time with family and friends. We want to have a quality time for even yourself, not, maybe you have children or maybe you have elderly parents and you wanted to visit. You wanted to keep these separated as much as possible, that not bringing it all together. And that will help you to advance your mindset as well, in the process of your journey, and not getting frustrated and upset and all that. And one thing I want to mention here, frustration is very important. And frustration can boost you. Yes, it might kind of bring you down at some point, but it also can boost you. You just need to see what is frustrating and what it is you can do to solve it. Getting help, getting advice, mentorship, these are all can help you to go through that process.
That's beautiful. I guess I'll just add that what that balance looks like, I found, at least for me, has changed a lot in different stages of my life. When I was in college and in my 20s, I loved doing as much as possible from super early to super late. And I just felt like ready to give my time to the things I was passionate about. And as I got a little bit older and through my 30s and let me connect my computer, in my 40s now, I think your loves in life keep kind of like helping you determine what time is best spent with what, right? I have 2 kids. It's like I'm a lot more disciplined. When I go home, I close my computer, be with my family. When my kids are asleep, I like to play soccer late at night and get a little bit of something that I like to do for myself and decompress. And so, yeah, I think it's just, I think your loves guide that balance, your loves in the different stages of your life. And I'll just, last thing I'll say is that as we move through those different life stages, to also keep in mind, even though it's a dark thing to say, but the lens of our mortality, right? Like as we make these decisions, when everything is done at the end, what are the things that mattered most? And sometimes that helps us rethink a little bit on what is most important and what are our priorities in different stages of our life. And yeah, so I'll just end it with that.
Yeah, I think as we're kind of, I feel like as a society, we're kind of starting to move away from that like grind mindset as like work is life. And it's been so refreshing to hear from people about they actually have work-life boundaries, and there is like wanting to keep personal life separate from work and kind of not wanting to let those two things blur too much. So as someone who's recently graduated, it's been really refreshing to kind of enter the workforce seeing that mentality. We do have a question in the chat from Mohammed. If you could go back in time to when you first started your business, but with the experience and knowledge you have now, how would you approach starting your business differently? Definitely a thinker. You want to take some time to think about it. Yeah.
I can go.
Yeah, sounds good.
Well, I guess I'm not the best person, I guess, to answer that question purely because I'm still on a startup phase as well. But what I can say is if I was being told like, okay, so you want to start a business, you don't have experience in the environment, for example, a specific area, maybe I would have stayed a little longer in the environment that I wanted to explore. And just because of, I could build a more sort of resilience and at the same time build more experience in particular things that I'm working on. Being said that also that start when you're trying to start an entrepreneurship, you do have to think, what is your goal? And what do you, how are you able to keep yourself, we all have to pay bills. We all have to pay, accommodations or whatever. We all have to things bills to pay. So you have to accept, because I found to myself, if I wouldn't have started, for example, my journey with the research, probably I would have not gone through it. It's just because it's sometimes hard to know that, okay, can I actually survive? You do have to have some support to, especially if you're in technology environment. Or have a really, really common, knowing that what you are going to do and you have experience deeply in that environment. And I can say, based on, lots of, experiences I had in different, environment, from environmental to like fisheries, to like tourism and business, it brought me to me that, I'm still learning. And it's still, if I would have gone back to start, maybe I would have stayed a little longer in the industry that I want to do business. And that would gives me a bit of more understanding of the environment and more understanding of the technologies coming to, and building the people that they wanted to work with me and building the business with me as I'm going through it. Yeah, that would be just what I would have done.
I think actually some of the lessons for my company came a little bit after the start, but I think what was essential for us at the start was to really understand what the problem was, right? We used to ask ourselves, what's missing and what's needed. Every time, all of the last 20 years, my best friend and I have started these different organizations, and we would ask ourselves, what's missing and what is needed. And to answer those questions, right, you have to also look at who else is providing what's needed. Who else could you, I think if always there is a first option to partner with someone to achieve something, I would take that route. If too many people are doing that and really there's not much nuance to add, right, reconsider. So anyway, I'll just, I think those were very helpful guiding questions for us.
Those are really good points. Yep, even I might not be the best person to answer this because I am not that experienced yet in the entrepreneurship industry as well. But one thing that I always feel I could have done differently early on was when I was starting, I would have sought more mentorship and not just try to do everything on my own initially, right? Because mentors and people who have already been through this journey know better and they can guide you much better than you going on the internet and just looking through all the YouTube videos that are there. So reaching out to more people and explaining your problem to them and seeking guidance, I think I would have done that a bit differently. And yeah.
I would like to add something to Vansh because he actually brought something very important in terms of like mentoring and knowing your market. So mentoring is one of the I think important things that I would suggest to any individual that wanted to start entrepreneurial journey. Finding a right mentor, finding a mentor that want to see you you succeed. And even if you haven't started, just that mentor to provide you with guidance, to help you with your mindset of being an entrepreneur. That will help to remove some of the obstacles because if that mentor already has been there for years and have that experience and have that passion to help, it will provide that sort of, I guess, opportunity for another person to come and become positive and actually continue and maybe bringing a bit successful business. Another thing is that I would 100% I would have done differently is that market research deeply. It's something that I've been told over and over and over and over, and I still doing it, the market research. But starting a market research deeply and doing it the right way, and from the understanding help a mentor, it help you to just remove those barriers. Maybe you find out that is not a business you want to go through. Maybe you find out you don't have that maybe capacity to create that environment, right? Maybe you wanted to do something differently. Now you understand that's your passion, but that's not the market for you. And now you understand, oh, maybe I have another market I can tap into. And having those market research is extremely crucial.
Awesome. And I've got one last question that's kind of similar to what we just talked about. But if you have any other advice for any aspiring entrepreneurs in the audience, other than what we just discussed, I feel like we kind of touched on that a little bit with the last question. But any other final words of advice, they would be much appreciated.
A few things that I've noted in the past couple of years is that firstly, mentorship, I think I totally agree as well. That's one of the most important things, and market research. Like one of the startups I'm working on right now as well, we have been in the market research phase for a few months now. And because many a times it's easier to build the product, but actually getting validation is much more difficult than building the product out. And so market research and knowing what industry you're in, having that experience and knowledge of what you are building is very important, right? Like going heads first without having the knowledge or the experience in that industry might not be the best strategy to
go. I say stay focused. Stay focused and connected to the ecosystem. If you wanted to take entrepreneurial journey, you have to stay focused. You have to stay connected to the ecosystem. Reach out for help when you need it, but early. Don't leave it to be, it gets to the point that you say, now I'm burned out, right? You wanted to reach out and get help from the industry partners, from incubators, from people that they're in ecosystem for entrepreneurs. Seek again good mentor and surround yourself with the positive people and people that believe in your mission that can push you forward. And the last thing, make sure you have sufficient funds to cover yourself for at least a year or two so that you can propel through your entrepreneurial journey, as it can be very difficult and hard if you don't have a sufficient fund. And if you have to rely on working 8 hours a day, at the job, and then you come home, you're tired, exhausted, and you wanted to continue doing, at the same time trying to build a business. In my perspective, I don't think so this would work out for me if I wouldn't have enough sufficient fund to get me to where I am at this point. So yeah, and then make sure you self-care. That's it. Self-care. No matter what you do in entrepreneurial journey or your career, just make sure you self-care, and that is important.
These are great. I'll add just one more, that is, have a co-founder. I am a big proponent of co-founder, someone who rounds up your skills, who you can build a relationship with and share the journey. The ups and downs are intense, and to share that experience with someone, it's like an opportunity to actually build a very interesting friendship that is, built around co-creativity. And B is just, a way to share the load in every way, emotionally, logistically, hours. So yeah, find a co-founder.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I think with all that great advice, we're going to wrap up. On behalf of the STEM Connector team, thank you so much for joining us today. And a huge thank you to our amazing panelists for taking time out of their busy schedules to chat with us today. I think there was so much great advice shared, and this link will be available on YouTube shortly for you to share with your friends. And Mehek is dropping some links in the chat for our STEM Connector program. And keep an eye out on the DeepSense social media, and as well as the Shiftkey and Surge social media for some upcoming STEM Connector events. We've got another ocean crawl happening in May, and then a resume building workshop happening through the summer. So once again, thank you so much for joining us, and we hope to see you all again very soon. Have a great day, everyone.